Shalom, shalom, Israel. First, I want to give all honor and glory to the Most High God, Yahweh. Ba'Shem HaMashiach W'Malak Yahushua. Yahweh is the name of the Heavenly Father, which the world calls God. And Yahushua is the name of his only begotten Son, who the world ignorantly calls Jesus Christ. I want to first and foremost give a strong shalom to all the mighty men. They're going out there laboring. They're presenting their bodies as a living sacrifice. They're doing all they can to wake up the lost sheep of the house of Israel. And during the elements, the 100-degree weathers, the freezing below codes, and everything that's trying to hinder the work of the Most High, shalom, shalom. I want to give another strong shalom to all the mighty Aqua, the sisters that are in this truth, reverencing their husbands, being teachers of good things, tender, delicate, and on fire for the Most High. Shalom, shalom. Last but not least, I want to give another strong shalom to all the mighty teenagers and children in this truth as well, doing all they can to make their calling and election sure in the last days, right? And by the topic of this cold cut is titled, right? The topic of this cold cut, this title is, right? How bad do you really want the kingdom, man? Right? How bad do you want the kingdom of the Most High God? Because the kingdom is already prepared. Everything's already set in place and in stone. We just waiting for prophecy to kick off. And a lot of people in the truth, if you don't have certain requirements or certain things done, you're not going to get the kingdom, man. The Lord doesn't care if you're in the truth or not. He don't care if he woke you up to this knowledge or not. Do you have what it takes to get the kingdom? Because the kingdom is not going to be handed out to anybody. You have to go and get it. You have to go and grind. You have to have faith, the commandments, enduring afflictions, the elements, having patience, long suffering. All of these different things is just what's going to help you to get the kingdom of the Most High God. All right, I want to kick it off with the book. Let me kick it off with the book of Acts, chapter 14. All right, let's kick it off with the book, so I can bear with me. Let's kick it off with the book of Acts, chapter 14, and verse number 22. This Acts chapter 14 and verse number 22. Again, the topic of this cold cut is, how bad do you want the kingdom? Because a lot of brothers and sisters, they just end this thing for a hobby, right? They think this is just a side game. This is a event, a long time event, 3-year event. No, this is the lifestyle, man. Certain men have put their lives on the line to inherit the kingdom. Certain men have died, been through manifold afflictions, temptations. We here to tell you this is not a game, man. You have certain men and women, they don't give a damn about this thing. This is what the Lord said. This Acts chapter 14 and 22. Confirming the souls of the disciples and exhorting them to continue in the faith, and that we, through much tribulation, enter into the kingdom of God. So a man that really wants this thing bad, he's going to go through whatever it takes to get the kingdom. It says that through much tribulation, not light tribulation, right? Not small tribulation. Through much tribulation, a man is going to inherit the kingdom. And you have certain men and certain women out here, they're going to outwork you, man. They're going to want the kingdom more than you do. And it's going to show through their works. So again, the question is, how bad do you want this thing? Because if you really wanted this thing really bad, you'll be doing all you can. You wouldn't be slothful. You would be casting off demons. You wouldn't be making excuses. You wouldn't be complaining what's happening to you. All of these different things a man or a woman is going to have if they want this thing really bad. You're going to have a high level of patience, long suffering, consistency. Again, you're going to do whatever it takes, because that's what our forefathers did for promises they didn't even inherit. Let's go to that in the book of Hebrews, chapter 11, right? Let's go to that in the book of Hebrews, chapter 11. Right? This is the book of Hebrews. Salakia. It's the book of Hebrews, chapter 11, and verse number, I'm going to start at verse, this whole chapter is good. I'm going to start at verse 13, and it reads, these all died in faith. So our forefathers, they all died having faith. They didn't get the kingdom, man. Everything they was doing, yes, it was for the kingdom of the Most High. Yes, it was to inherit everlasting life. But guess what? They didn't even receive it themselves. It says, these all died in faith, not having received the promises, but having seen them afar off. Imagine you did all you could. It was nothing but blood, sweat, and tears, affliction, turmoil in your life, and you died looking afar off for the things you didn't even receive yet you just dedicated your life to the Most High. Hey, somebody might feel, dang, did I labor in vain? Right? Damn, I did all I could. I thought I was going to receive the kingdom. Not that these men aren't, but they have to wait for the second coming of Yahushua. They have to wait till everything is restored unto them. Nevertheless, they're already predestined these promises. But these men died in faith, seeing the promises far off. Do you have what it takes to die in faith? If you was to die tomorrow, could you actually be satisfied with the works you have committed in this truth? Or are you going to be, man, I wish I would have did this more, right? Man, I wish I would have read that extra chapter. I wish I would have been slothful this day. Because it's no woulda, shoulda, couldas when you're up in the spirit world. Whatever you have as your works, it is what it is. Reading on, it says, these all died in faith, not having received the promises, but having seen them afar off, and were persuaded of them, embraced them, and confessed that they were strangers and pilgrims on the earth. So all of these men, they died in faith, having not received the promises. That's how you know they really wanted it for real, man. Like we said, a lot of men have died in this thing. Did all they can. Yahushua went through blood, sweat, and tears. You have to have that same mindset, that same mode, because those men, and I was meditating on this earlier, every single one of those men and women that gets beamed up on those chariots, it's because they had some type of hard work in them. No, the Lord is not beaming up half ASS men that was just sitting around. The Lord is not beaming up couch Israelites or keyboard scoffers. No, the Lord is beaming up men and women who really earned this thing. And it's no respect of persons. Jumping down to verse 39, it reads, and these all, having obtained a good report through faith, received not the promise, God having provided some better thing for us, that they without us should not be made perfect. So if it wasn't for these accounts, our forefathers, the great cloud of witnesses, we wouldn't even be made perfect as we ought to be. So it just shows you how deep this thing really is. Again, this is not a game, man. This is a lifestyle, right? Certain men, they wake up every single day thinking about how hard they could go get in the kingdom, how much work they need to be putting in. They're in overdrive mode. And you see that even with the people in the world. These top basketball players, these NBA superstars, NFL superstars, they're not where they're at for a reason. These men took the time out to do whatever it takes to get to the level they're at. We have to have the same mentality and the truth. You have to do whatever it takes to get the kingdom. No excuses. If you have to cut that brother off, well, guess what? You need to cut him off. If you have to get your house in order with your wife and your family, you got to do what it takes. If you have to leave that sister alone, brother, right? You have to cut her off, man. If you have to cut that sin off that you're steady struggling with, you have to cut it off. If your job is wearing you down too much, the people around you, maybe you need to separate. It's no excuse not to do all you could do to get the kingdom. Because guess what? It's going to be somebody out there while you trying to do what you do, they're going to actually be doing it with no excuses. This is the book of Hebrews, chapter 12 and verse number 1. It says what? Wherefore, seeing we also are compassed about with so a great cloud of witnesses, let us lay aside every weight and the sin which doth so easily beset us. All of these great cloud of witnesses is everybody mentioned in Hebrews chapter 11. What you have to do, you have to lay aside every weight. Because in this walk to the kingdom, it's not going to be easy. You're going to have weights. They're going to get heavier and heavier. You might be start off with a 5-pound weight. It's going to increase into a 20-pound. That 20 into a 30. That 30 into a 45. It's going to keep getting heavier and heavier. You have to lay aside that weight. And the sin which so easily beset us. That's one of the main parts, is whatever sin that you're dealing with. If you really want this thing, you're going to lay it aside. It's not going to be, you know what, I'm still struggling with it. It's hard, right? I can't overcome it. I'm trying. Brother, do it. Who you have to do it? You have Yahweh Shai, right? He literally subdued everything with no excuse. Not only that, he's able to subdue those that are in temptation. That's Hebrews chapter 2 and 19. So when you have Yahweh Shai, it's no excuse to overcome none of these things, because he gives you the blueprint. You just have to have the drive and the mind willing to do it. Read on. Let us lay aside every weight and the sin which does so easily beset us, and let us run with patience the race that is set before us. See that? So you have to lay aside that, and you have to run with patience the race, because this thing is a race, chiefly a marathon. It requires a high level of consistency. It requires a high level of patience. It requires a lot of hard work, blood, sweat, and tears, a lot of crying, a lot of fasting, a lot of praying, a lot of getting out your comfort. A lot of Israelites, they scared to get out of their comfort zone. It's gonna require you to get out of you gonna have to be uncomfortable. Again, it's the kingdom we talking about. Everlasting life. You think everlasting life is gonna be that easy? Come on, man. It's the kingdom of the Lord we talking about. So it says, let us run with patience the race that is set before us. Read on. Looking unto Yahweh Shai, the author and finisher of our faith, who for the joy that was set before him endured the cross. So for a man that really wants this thing, you're gonna endure. It don't matter how hard it is. It don't matter what's coming your way. You have to endure all things, not only for you, but also for the elect's sake. Read on. Endured the cross, despising the shame. So you're gonna have shame that come with this thing. You're going to be shameful sometimes, embarrassed. You don't think Yahweh Shai was embarrassed when he was on a cross? When men were mocking him, telling him to get off? If you're not the son of God, guess what? Put yourself down off this cross. He had to endure that shame, embarrassed at his own creation. It says what? And is set down at the right hand of the throne of God. So when you look at everything Yahweh Shai did, everything he endured, he went through, guess what? It all paid off in the end, because he got set down on the right hand of the Most High God. As we speaking, doing this live, he's in the third heaven, sitting on the right hand of the Most High. All because he endured shame. He had patience. He had a mentality. He had a high level of hard work. All of these things, again, you have to go earn it. It's not going to be handed to you. Let's go to the book of Proverbs. Let's go to the book of Proverbs. I believe that's 22. Right? This Proverbs chapter 22 and verse number 29. Seest thou a man diligent in his business? He shall stand before kings. He shall not stand before mean men. So if you see a man that's diligent, and you're going to see him, you're going to see who wants this thing really bad. You're going to see who's not making excuses. You're going to see the men and women that's doing all they can to magnify the name of the Most High. It's not going to be something in secret, because what? Your fruit is going to declare if the tree has been dressed. Let's get that real fast. In Sirach. So you're going to see these certain men and women just solely off how they operate. The time they're on. You're gonna know a fool by the things that he does. He's out doing wickedness, right? He's slothful. He's childish. The way he acts. And you're gonna see a man of the Lord by how he conduct himself. The type of time that he's on. So let's go to the book of Sirach. Real fast, quick precept. Let's go to the book of Sirach. I believe that's 21 and 7. Right? Sirach. It's like it. Sirach chapter 27 and verse number 6. Sirach 27 and 6. The fruit declareth if the tree have been dressed. What is the fruit? The fruit is your works in this thing. The work you have put in. The labor, right? The long hours of you staying up, making your body a living sacrifice. The fruit declareth if the tree have been dressed. So is the utterance of a conceit in the heart of man. So your fruit is going to declare. A man shall be made known by his fruits. Let's get that in Matthew chapter 7, right? Matthew 7 and 17. So we know, best believe we know who really want this thing for real. We pay attention, right? The servants of the Lord are not men that's not watching. We see the women that want this. We see the men. Not only that, we examine ourselves to see of ourselves how bad we really want this thing. This Matthew chapter 7 and verse number 17. I'm going to start at verse 16. Ye shall know them by their fruits. So you know a man and a woman in his truth by the work they have put in. If a man is saying he wants this, that, and the third, and he has no works, he has no righteous works, he came out of nowhere, guess what? We're not believing this man. Because your works is going to be made manifest what type of manner of person you are. It says, ye shall know them by their fruits. It reads, do men gather grapes of thorns or figs of thistles? Even so, every good tree bringeth forth good fruit. So if you're a good tree, and trees are referred to as men in the scriptures. If you're a good tree, you get the Lord say you're going to bring forth good fruit. It says what? But a corrupt tree bringeth forth evil fruit. You have to ask yourself, what type of fruit are you bringing forth? Are you bringing forth righteous works? Are you bringing forth evil works? And again, on this race to the kingdom, it's a lot of key components. We just naming them off the head, right? It's a lot of self-examination that has to go on if you really want this thing bad as you say you do, right? That's what brothers, man, I can't wait to get the kingdom. I can't wait to have all of these slaves and dominion, right? I can't wait to enjoy the peace of the land. Well, brother, are you doing what it takes to get there? This is a grind. This is a hustle. You have to act. It's going to be a lot of self-examination going on to a man or a woman that really wants this thing. So let's go back to Proverbs, right? Proverbs chapter 22 and verse number 29. Seest thou a man diligent in his business? He shall stand before kings. He shall not stand before a mean man. So a diligent man or woman is going to stand before kings, highly regarded. And ultimately, those kings are going to be in the kingdom. King David, King Hezekiah, Moses, Job, Abraham, your forefathers of old. That's all is going to be given to a man that's diligent. You have to ask yourself, do you have a high level? All of these characteristics we listing, you have to have a high level of them. You have to have a high level of diligence. Not only that, you got to have a high level of discipline. Discipline is what's going to really kind of get you over there. Because if you don't have a high level of discipline, of putting your body into subjection, you're going to have a hard time, and eventually you're not going to make it. Let's go to the book of 1 Corinthians, chapter 9, right? Let's go to 1 Corinthians, chapter 9 and 24. Know ye not that they which run in a race run all, but one receiveth the prize? So run, that ye might obtain. And every man that striveth for the masters is temperate in all things. Now they do it to obtain a corruptible crown, right? These men that run track, the NBA, the NFL, the MLB, right? Hockey, they're doing all they can for a corruptible crown, for a trophy, maybe for a crown that's set on their head. They're doing this thing for a corruptible crown. But what? It says, but we an incorruptible. We're doing it for that crown to be placed upon our heads in a second wilderness by Yahweh Shah himself. We doing it for that crown that never fadeth away. That's not going to have dust in the top of it, but that's going to have precious jewels. And we're going to receive our kingship back. It says what? I therefore so run. This is what Paul said. I therefore so run, not as uncertainty. So fight I, not as one that beateth the air. Paul said he best believe he fighting and he not beating the air. A lot of you men and women, you beating the air. Yeah, you fighting, but you're not hitting anything. You're not hitting no demons. You're not hitting no goals that you have. You're not hitting anything. You just fighting and you beating up the air. You want to make sure you hit your targets. Have goals. Have things set out. Right? This is years of hard work we're talking about. Maybe even decades. We don't know. But you don't want to fight as one that's beating up the air and you're not actually hitting targets. Reading on. But I keep under my body and bring it into subjection. This is what's talking about discipline. Lest by any means, when I have preached to others, I myself should be a castaway. So you have to have a high level of discipline. Because you're going to have to mortify your members, right? Your flesh is going to do contrary to your spirit. And you have to bring your body. When you look this up in a different translation, Paul is saying, I train my body like an athlete to do what it do, right? Lest by any means, when I preach to others, salvation, the kingdom, what it takes, I'm a castaway. That's like me preaching to you guys and telling you, this is what it has to take. This is what it has to do. But I'm not even doing what I'm telling y'all to do. I myself is going to be a castaway. So you have to have a high level of discipline. And it's mentioned by the Apostle Paul. Let's go to real fast. Sirach, chapter 41 and 14. Go to the... This is Sirach, chapter 41 and verse number 14. My children, keep discipline and peace, for wisdom that is hid and a treasure that is not seen. What profit is in them both? So the Lord said, keep discipline. That's another key characteristic, showing you how bad you want this thing. Because you're going to have a high level of discipline to even get to the kingdom, right? Nevertheless, you're going to have, this thing is about hard work again. They say in the world, hard work beats talent when talent fails to work hard. So if you're not going as hard as you can, best believe somebody else out there, it's not just you and a lot of brothers and sisters, you think it's just you and it's truth. Well, dang, it's only a couple Israelites in my area. Guess what? You have millions of Israelites nationwide, worldwide. You just haven't seen it. It's plenty of other sisters that's going to do the work of the Lord other than you. It's many other men that's out there. Yeah, they might not be known, but they're going 10 times harder than you. And if you're not doing what it takes to get the kingdom, best believe they're going to outwork you because they want it more than you. Imagine that. Somebody wanted the kingdom more than you do. Somebody's going to outwork you more than you do because they love the Lord more than you. They want this thing more than you. And they're willing to do it what it takes while you're not. Let's go to that in the book of 1 Samuel. Let's go to 1 Samuel chapter 15. Right? Let's go to 1 Samuel, the 15th chapter. It's the book of 1 Samuel, chapter 15 and verse number 28. The classic, we always bring this out. And this precept is deep because it touches on manyfold. This 1 Samuel 15 and 28. And Samuel said unto him, the Lord hath rent the kingdom of Israel from thee this day, and have given it to a neighbor of thine that is better than thou. So guess what? Saul, he got the kingdom took from him. And Saul was in a position, this is literally talking about the kingdom of Israel. How much more for the kingdom of heaven? Saul, he got it snatched from them. And the Lord gave that opportunity to somebody else that was better than King Saul. All because when you read, Saul didn't follow directions. Through Saul's actions, it showed that he didn't want this thing for real. While you had somebody else being a shepherd, taking care of the sheep, not thinking he would ever be in this position, the Lord took him, and that's what you call the underdog. The Most High took him and set him over the kingdom, and he was declared better than Saul. So you brothers, it's always another brother that's gonna want this thing better than you. He's gonna outwork you to the T. He's gonna fast more than you. He's gonna pray more than you. He's gonna cast off more demons more than you. He's gonna be going more harder than you ever will. And if you're not matching that energy, you're gonna get outworked, and he's gonna take your spot. It is what it is. This is a race. Let's go to the book of Esther, chapter 1. That's why the underdog position is just so crazy. Let's go to the book of Esther. Right? Let's go to the book of Esther, chapter 1. It's a lot here. It's the book of Esther, chapter 1. And I'm going to start at verse number 19, right? Dealing with King Ahasuerus and Vashti. It says, if it please the king, let there go a royal commandment from him, and let it be written amongst the laws of the Persian and Medes, that it be not altered, that Vashti come no more before the king Ahasuerus. And this could be manyfold. Yes, this literally happened. But the Lord is double to that which is. King Ahasuerus, because he's the king at this time, he could represent King Yahushua. And you as a sister, guess what? The Lord would tell you, I never knew you. You can't come before me, right? What are you doing in front of my face? The Lord don't care if you have you was wearing a hair wrap and a dress. It says that Vashti come no more before the king Ahasuerus, and let the king give her royal estate unto another that is better than she. So you have another sister that's out here. She's better than you, right? She's gonna serve the Most High better than you. Be on those prayer calls, those getting all the knowledge she can. Not departing from the temple with prayers and fasting. She's gonna outwork you. Reverence her husband more than you, right? And the Lord is gonna take that estate that you have and give it to her because she was better than you. All because she wanted it better than you. So it's really first come, first serve. You read about that in Luke chapter 10. Let's go to that. Luke chapter 10 and 1. Because there's plenty of work to do, but the laborers are few. Whether that's men or women. This Luke chapter 10 and verse number 1. After these things, the Lord appointed 70 also, and sent them 2 and 2 before his face, and to every city and place, whither he himself would come. Therefore said he unto them, the harvest truly is great. What is the harvest on this fold? All of the work that needs to put in the nation of Israel, right? It's a lot of work that needs to be done. So the harvest is great, but the labors are few. It's not a lot of labors in this thing, right? Israel, they know they Israel, but they don't want to put in the work. So the harvest is great, but the labor is few. It's not a lot of men doing the work. It's not a lot of women doing the work as well. It says, pray ye therefore that the Lord of the harvest, that he would send forth laborers into his harvest. So why it's not a lot of laborers? That gives it gives a first come, first serve. It gives, guess what? You could put in as much work as you can, because there's not a lot of men out here labor. It's not a lot of women as you think out here doing the works of the righteous foremothers of old, doing what it takes to inherit the kingdom. So guess what? You can get in where you fit in. Put in as much work as you can. Work your way up. Put in blood, sweat, and tears. And it's all going to pay out in the end. Let's go to the book of Revelation, chapter 22. Let's go to the book of Revelation, chapter 22. And I'm going to start at verse number 12. Revelation 22 and 12. And it reads, and behold, I come quickly, and my reward is with me. Just talking about Yahweh Shai. It reads, to give every man according as his work shall be. So you're going to be given to whatever work that you put in. Whether you put in least, whether you put in little, whether you put in much. You might even put in right in the middle. Whatever you put in, that's what you're going to get in return. So it's really up to you, and according to your drive, your mindset, the goals that you have. Because whatever you put in, that's what you're going to get. And it's written, the Lord is given every man according to his work shall be. And if you're not satisfied in that day with the works you have gotten back, that lets you everything you need to know about what you did while you was on this earth. Your purpose. That means you wasn't doing anything. If you got a little bit of reward back, you wasn't doing what you was supposed to be doing. Now those men that put in hard work, a lot of works, they were going to receive that 100-fold. The Lord told the disciples that. Let's get that real fast. In Matthew chapter 19 and 28. Let's go to Matthew chapter 19 and verse number 28. It says, and Yahushua said unto them, verily I say unto you, that ye which have followed me in the regeneration, when the Son of Man shall sit in the throne of his glory, ye shall also sit upon 12 thrones. I'm going to start at verse 27, right? This is Matthew 19 to 27. Then answered Peter and said unto him, behold, we have forsaken all and followed thee. What shall we have therefore? So Peter and the rest of the disciples, they're saying, hold on. We literally forsake all we had. We're doing all we can and we're wholly following. What are we going to get? It says, and Yahushua said unto them, verily I say unto you, that ye which have followed me in the regeneration, right? When the Son of Man shall sit in the throne of his glory, he shall also sit upon the 12 thrones, judging the 12 tribes of Israel. And every one that have forsaken houses, or brethren, or sisters, or fathers, or mother, or wife, or children, or lands, for my name's sake, shall receive 100-fold, and shall inherit everlasting life. So the Lord told the disciples, if you do all of these works, this is what you're going to get in return. 100-fold of everything that you forsook. But the many that are first shall be last, and the last shall be first. So you want to store this up in your mind. You want to meditate on this every single day, because this is what you in this truth for. Let's go to that in Joshua chapter 1. Right? You have certain men on the earth that a day is not going by when they're not thinking about the Lord, when they're not thinking about the kingdom, and it's stored up in their mind, and they're putting it in works every day. Let's go to the book of what I just called Joshua 1 and 8. This Joshua chapter 1 and verse number 8. This book of the law shall not depart out of thy mouth. So none of these books, the different chambers, shall depart out of your mouth. You should be constantly thinking about it, talking about it. But thou shalt meditate therein day and night, that thou mayest observe to do according to all that is written therein. For then thou shalt make thy ways prosperous, and then thou shalt have good success. That's thus said the Lord. Because whatever you're thinking about the most, that's going to be your actions on a physical level. If you're thinking about your job all the time, you're going to be thinking about working and making money. If you're thinking about sports and you're in that field or business, that's what you're going to give your strength over to. What if you're thinking about the laws, the kingdom, doing what it takes to get there, having these different characteristics? Eventually, that's going to become your actions. You're going to make your ways prosperous, and you're going to have good success. So meditation is another key factor into that. Let's go to Titus chapter 2. Right? Let's go to Titus chapter 2. And you have to have a pattern of good works, also known as consistency. This is Titus chapter 2 and verse number 7. And all things, shewing thyself a pattern of good works, and doctrine, showing uncorruptness, gravity, sincerity. So the Lord said you have to have a pattern of good works. What's a pattern of good works? That's talking about consistency. You can't just be doing, you 3 years into the truth, you going as hard as you can, then the next 3 years, you just stop. You get slothful, lazy. You saying, dang, you forget why you in this thing. Certain men, they go hard for 2 years. They first year coming in. But guess what? As the years approach and stretch out, and they coming into their 7th year in the truth, 8th, right? They start to question themselves. Dang, how long is it going to be? How much work do I have to really put in? This much? Yes. This, you said you wanted it. What you mean you have to? Do you have to put in this many work for this long? Hey, God forbid, if we're here another 30 years, you still have to work as hard as you can for 30 straight years. And over time, it's going to declare who's the true women and men of the Lord. Who's the men that's in this thing and who's not. It's going to separate, like the brothers always say, it's going to separate the boys from the men and the girls from the women. So you have that. It's about consistency, because you can endure for a little bit, but guess what? You might not endure the hour of temptation. You might faint and fold. Next thing you know, you out of this thing. Let's go to the book of Matthew chapter 10 and 22, the classic. This Matthew chapter 10 and 22. It says, and ye shall be hated of all men for my name's sake, but he that endureth to the end shall be saved. So another thing is endurance. Enduring it to the end, right? And that literally makes up this whole truth. It's endurance. Job, he endured. Yahushua, he endured. And these men are going to receive the things that was promised to them from the foundation of the world. So all of these things we going over, you have to examine, incorporate into your life, and do these things at a high level. And guess what? The kingdom is yours if you endure. Let's go to Revelation chapter 3. Right? Let's go to Revelation, the 3rd chapter. This is the book of Revelation, chapter 3 and verse number 11. Behold, I come quickly. Hold that fast which thou hast. This is the Lord speaking. That no man take thy crown. So the Lord is saying, I've come quickly. I'm on my way. I'm coming sooner than you think I am. And my reward is with me. Hold that fast which thou hast. Maintain good works. Keep enduring. Keep going hard. Keep showing the Most High that you really want this thing. And let no man take thy crown. Because once your crown is stripped and took from you, ultimately, all of the promises, everything that was promised to your forefathers, right? All the labor that you put in, the crying, the going out there in the snow and winters, the freezing, blistering colds, you out there while it's hot, the manifold demons that you cast off, right? The fightings that you had to fight through, the affliction when things got super tough and you wanted to give up. All of that is going to be took from you if you let somebody take your crown. So with that, Lord willing, this video is edifying. Continue to read, pray, fast, study. Do all you can to magnify the name of the Most High. And again, how bad do you really want the kingdom? Shalom.